Knowing what to say and how to say it as a salesperson is crucial, but especially for real estate agents. And I personally think that sales as a realtor is one of the hardest industries to be good at sales. And the reason for that, there's so many different variables that go on in real estate sales versus in different industries where it's just one sale over and over and over. Real estate's totally different. Now in this video, I'm gonna break down why I like frameworks, and I'm gonna break down the exact framework that I use with the exact scripting that I personally used to sell over $1 million in GCI in my first 2 years with me personally selling. That's also had our team uses the same framework that has led over to $500 million in sales and 600 deals just since 2020 in the last 4.5 years. So this is the Closer framework. Now I borrowed Closer from Alex Hormozi. If you haven't watched any of his stuff, I highly recommend it. But I really like this because it ties in several different things that I've used and learned over the years. Number one is a question-based selling approach. Whoever is asking questions is in control of the conversation. Number two is it is a consultative sales approach. And number three is childlike curiosity. And that all boils down into this framework. So let's break it down going through the acronym itself, which is Closer. And then I'm going to break down every single one individually with the exact scripts that I would recommend memorizing. Now, here's a pro tip for you is that this framework works for all sales. This works for buyers, this works for sellers and investors. This also works outside of the real estate industry. The framework itself does. This is the exact same framework I use recruiting agents to our team. So making sure you understand this framework is something that can unlock your success as a real estate salesperson or just a salesperson in general. But anyway, let's dive into the first thing. So the Closer acronym, write this down if you're taking notes or maybe bookmark this timestamp, is C is for clarify. Clarifying why in the world are they talking to you, a salesperson, in the first place. Now, under clarifying their why, you need to understand two things. One is their motivation, and two is their timeline. All right, now, after you've clarified their why, you're gonna move on to labeling their pain point. This is where you are going to make sure you actually understand where their pain is, the problem they're trying to solve. Now, once you've clarified what their why is and you've labeled their pain point, you can then overview what they've done so far to solve that problem. So you can understand where they're at in the sales process. Now we move on to S, which is sell the solution. Really, it's not sell the solution, it's sell the vacation, and I'll get to that in a second. This is where you're going to present your solution to whatever their problem is. E is for explain away whatever concerns they might have. These are objections. Now R is to review the crystal clear next steps that they just agreed to. So if we're walking through this whole framework, I'll put it up here on the screen. It is C for clarify their why. L for labeling their pain. O for overviewing what they've done so far. S is for selling the vacation or the solution. E is for explaining away any of their concerns, and R is for reviewing the crystal clear next steps that they just agreed to. Now, one thing I want to make crystal clear, and this is one of the biggest unlocks for you as a real estate agent, is stop asking sales-based questions and start asking questions that fall under this, is curiosity-based questions. So stop asking sales-based questions, which sound like, where do you want to move to? What is your price point? What is your motivation to move? Do you have an agent? Are you pre-approved? All these are sales-based questions which throw up a block wall for your client. They don't want to talk to you when you're asking these questions. This, in my opinion, is an interrogation-based sales method. This is what a lot of people are trained on. It makes a huge opportunity for you to learn a different way. Now, I believe in a consultative sales approach that's question-based selling, but not with interrogative sales-based questions. So let's move into clarify their why. Now we're gonna break clarifying into two major points. And again, we're removing these sales-based questions. So I wanna understand their motivation. So why are they looking to move in the first place? I also wanna understand their timeline. These are the two things we have to understand. But I also wanna understand why is that their timeline. So that is why it's clarify their why. Why do they want to move? What is their motivation? What is their timeline? Why is that their timeline? Right? So why are they talking to you as a salesperson in the first place? That's what we're trying to figure out. So here's the questions for motivation. Now I'm going to say the words to you, and then I'll say the words with the correct tone that I say them with as a sales scripting. So the first is, what is it you're looking to change about your current living situation? Now, if I'm talking to you as a consumer, I'm gonna say, so do you mind sharing with me, what are you looking to change about your current living situation? There is a quote that I absolutely love that says, little hinges swing big doors. And when you can ask a question that can answer a lot of different questions, that is a question that you just memorize and you run with and you ask everybody that question. So do you mind sharing with me, what is it you're looking to change about your current living situation? because they're going to tell me what they're looking for, right? They're going to tell me that they're in a 2-bed and they need a 3-bed. They need a bigger space. They need whatever. They're living with their mom and they don't want to live with their mom anymore. Whatever it might be. You're going to get way more information rather than asking, why are you moving? Question number 2 that I would memorize is, what is it about this home that has you thinking about making a move? So the way that you would ask this is, what was it about this home that has you thinking about making a move? And they're going to tell you what they liked about that home, but they're going to tell you what got them thinking about moving in the first place. Again, you're going to be able to interchange these questions. Sometimes you'll ask all of them, sometimes you won't. The next one is, what has you thinking about making a move in the first place, right? This is a more direct question, but it isn't a sales-based question. And last but not least is, how does this house compare into everything else that you've seen? It's one of my favorite all-time questions that I ask people when I'm in a property tour with them. So I'm going to ask them, how does this house look in comparison to everything else that you've seen? Because they can say, well, this is the first house that I've seen. And now I know that this is the first house they've seen. They probably don't have an agent. They probably aren't pre-approved. So I don't have to ask those sales-based questions. Now they could answer a different way. And they could say, well, the house that I saw earlier today looked a little bit better. We're thinking about writing an offer. Oh, okay. And if you didn't know that they were out looking at properties with another agent, or maybe they went to an open house, now you know, and you didn't ask a sales-based question, right? So these are curiosity-based questions. There's a few of them that I can share with you right here. So again, I'll rip through these really quickly. It's, what are you looking to change about your current living situation? What was it about this house that had you interested in making a move? Do you mind me asking, how does this house compare into all the other homes that you've seen, right? So all of these different questions are your curiosity-based questions on motivation. Now I've got one question you have to memorize for timeline. Very simple, very straightforward, but there's a follow-up to it. So the question is, in a perfect world, when would you like to be moved into your new home? Now the follow-up to this is, don't let them get away with something vague. If they say summer, ask, okay, so summer, what month specifically? In June, July? Is there something? Do you mind me asking what changes in the summer? Or do you mind me asking what changes in June? And they might say a job, a relocation, I don't know, it just sounds good, right? You're trying to understand, why is that their timeline? Another question you can ask under not so much motivation, but do you need to sell your home, right? Is not a good question to ask because, again, sales-based question. I like the question, what are you planning on doing with your current home? Now, a homeowner is going to confidently say, I either need to sell it or I'm going to rent it out. And a renter is going to say, oh, my lease is up. Like I'm just renting my current house. So when you ask this way, what are you going to do with your current home? It lets them tell you what they are, and it also lets them tell you what they're going to do. If you ask, do you need to sell your house first? You're insulting a renter and you're putting up the block wall to a seller. It's a bad question to ask. All of these questions fall under clarifying. Now the point is, you do not leave clarifying until you can actually label what their pain point is. If you don't know what their pain is, how are you supposed to be able to provide them with the solution to solve it? It doesn't make any sense. That's why clarifying is so important. And I mentioned it earlier, I'll say it again, is you will likely spend 80% of your time under clarifying, and then labeling, overview, and selling all happens very quickly. Okay, so let me walk you through and explain what labeling will look like. But let me give you an example. So if I'm clarifying with the consumer and I found out, I'll give you a very wide or a exaggerated example, is they are a young couple that has 7 kids living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I think we can all understand that there's a lot of pain on needing more space. So my label would sound very simple. Labeling is easy, but it's easy to do poorly, or it's easy to do it like a neutral or base level. It's a huge skill if you can get good at it. So my advice here on labeling is to read the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It's a fantastic book. There's a lot of nuggets in there. Labeling is probably one of my favorite. Okay, so it sounds like you're just looking for more space, or it sounds like you're looking to move your family into a home, or it sounds like you're looking to get out of your apartment, you're looking to get into a real family home environment. And the idea here is you need the person to confirm that the label you just put on them is either correct or it's not. Now the magic is, if they say, yes, Christian, that's absolutely right, then you know that you're actually correct. There's a couple things that happen when you label. They're hearing that you actually listened to them. You listened to all the questions you asked, then you said, got it. So it sounds like you're really just looking to move your family into a real family home. Yes, we are. That's exactly what we're trying to do. And they're gonna be like, wow, this salesperson actually listened. Novel idea. And it's gonna also confirm that that is what they're trying to do. Now, it's not a bad thing if you're wrong. Now, if you say, it sounds like you're looking to get into more space. And they say, well, actually, that's not it. Our apartment's 3,000 square feet. We just need more bedrooms. Got it. Okay. Totally different situation. You would handle that differently. Again, I'm just making up examples here as we go. But labeling their pain point makes you find out if you're correct or not. Now, once you have labeled their pain point, the next question you ask is one very simple question is, do you mind me asking, what have you done so far to make this move happen? Now, this is a question you can memorize for both buyers and sellers. It's very similar to the timeline question, where it's just one question you have to memorize. And it's, do you mind me asking, what have you done so far to make this move happen? And they're going to tell you where they're at in the process. If I ask somebody, where are you at in the home buying process? One, they don't know what you're talking about. And two, sales-based question, the block wall goes back up. So I'm going to ask instead, do you mind me asking, what have you done so far to make this move happen? Now, if you're talking to a buyer, they might say things like, this is the first open house I've been to. I just started looking. I clicked on Zillow and got you. This is the first thing that I've done. Or they might tell you, I've been writing offers for 6 months and I can't get my offer accepted, or all these different things that they can tell you. They're going to tell you where they're at in the process. You also have where they're at in the process. And earlier you asked, in a perfect world, when would you like to make this move happen? So if somebody tells you that their timeline is they need to move in the next 30 days, and what have they done so far is this is the first house they've looked at, you know that those things are totally far apart and you need to bridge that gap probably pretty quick. So recapping so far, we have clarified why they're looking to move in the first place. We know their motivation and their timeline. We have labeled their pain point to make sure that we actually know what their pain is. We've overviewed where they're at in the process. We've overviewed what they've done so far to make the move happen. Now we can present them with a solution. Now in this, you want to make sure that you are selling the outcome, not the process, right? We're real estate agents, but let me tie this to lending. Is if you say somebody, hey, go talk to a lender, they're going to make you fill out a 10-page credit app. They're going to run your credit, so your credit gets dinged. They're going to ask you for 400 pages of bank statements, pay stubs, tax returns. You're going to have to call a bunch of people, go to your employer. That sounds miserable. But telling somebody to go to a lender and saying, hey, why don't you go talk to so-and-so, my buddy who's a lender, and he's going to go through and tell you exactly what you're able to qualify for and tell you the best program to save you the most money possible. That's the outcome. We need to do that as agents as well too. We do not want to sell the process. So the saying here is sell the vacation. Nobody wants to buy the security experience, the airport experience, the driving, the flying to Hawaii. They want to buy being on the beach with the pina colada. Sell them that. So let's talk about the solution. I call this our offer solution framework. Is I start pretty much any of our solutions. I'm going to share with you the actual framework here, and then I'll say what we actually say for our buyers. Now, the offer solution framework is pretty straightforward. So this is what it sounds like. Based on everything you've shared with me so far, here's what we do for all of our clients that are in your position, is we call it this thing, you name it. He said we cover 3 major things. Is number 1, you're going to come up with 3 different bullet points. Here's how the bullet points work. The most important thing is going to go third, because they'll only really hear the last bullet point. The second most important thing goes first, and the middle one nobody hears, so you put the least important of the 3 in the middle, right? And then the last thing is, would that be a bad idea to set up? You want to know, you want them to say no as the thing you want them to actually say it, right? So would that be a bad idea to set up? Is better than, do you want to set that up? Because do you want to set that up? Probably not. You want to? Does it sound like a good idea? Is a bigger commitment versus, does this sound like a bad idea to set up? They're like, well, it doesn't sound like a bad idea. So that's how you structure it, is based on everything you've shared with me so far. Here's this thing we do with all of our clients in your same position. It's called this. We cover 3 major things. Second most valuable, third most valuable, most valuable. Would that be a bad idea to set up? That's how you're going to structure it. Now you can use your own words and flair and all that stuff, but this is how I do it. Okay, so let me give you an example of a real life sales pitch using this exact same framework. And really I'm saying this is because you've made it this far in the video. I imagine you're the type of person that likes learn sales, learn marketing, and grow the real estate business. So I made a free community called the Start to Finish in Real Estate Community. And we cover 3 real major things. Number 1 is we have a live community of hundreds and soon to be thousands of other agents that are all looking to grow their business. Number 2 is you get direct access to me and my team going through whatever live trainings we have going on, which business planning is actually coming up. And number 3 is you get all the trainings and courses like this closer framework. You get the full breakdown. So instead of a quick YouTube video like this, there's a 46-minute training video as well as a 13 or 16 page document that has every single script written out, why we use every word and all of that. So if that sounds interesting at all to you, go ahead and go to onyxhomes.com/school and you can join totally for free there. Now, I didn't get a negative at the end of it because I'm not sure how to do that when I'm not actually talking to somebody, but that's an example of the sales pitch. I did my intro based on you actually watching the video. You probably like sales. I gave you 3 different bullet points and I kind of ordered them in what I think you would find the most valuable. And I gave a call to action at the end. So that's the framework. Now, I'll give you the bonus, which probably you're waiting for, is what exactly do we say to our buyers? So I'll give you the exact pitch. Is based on everything you've shared with me so far, here's what we do for all our clients that are in your same position, is what we call a home buyer strategy session. Now, we cover 3 major things. First, we talk about what our clients are doing to take advantage of the market. Number 2, we talk about how we keep you protected through the entire process. And third, last but not least, we talk about how we get you the best deal possible under any of the circumstance. I kind of jokingly say it's going to take 20 minutes or 2 hours. It really just depends on how many questions you ask. Would that be a bad idea to set up? So that is exactly the script on how we present our buyer strategy session solution to our clients, and this thing absolutely crushes. And as a bonus, this isn't really a joke, this entire training, which is way more in depth, is in that free community, start to finish in real estate. So if you want to go there and check it out, go to onyxhomes.com/school. Join totally for free. You'll get access to the trainings right away. All right, now we're going to move on to E, which is explain away their concerns. Now, they might have objections, or frankly, they might not. If you're offering something that's valuable and makes sense to what they're needing to do, they're probably, at least half of the time, going to just say yes to it. Now, if they have concerns, this is where you explain away their concerns. And we do this in a couple different methods, which is for a totally different training built more on our sales process. But we actually have a 3-pitch process where we can peel back from the most valuable with the highest commitment to the least valuable lowest commitment, which helps us convert leads at a way higher level. But that's a training for a different day, also in that free community. But explaining away their concerns is really just handling objections. So depending on where you're at with the process, I'll use the buyer strategy session as an example here. Is if somebody says, I'm just really not quite ready for that yet. Now, if it does make sense, so let's go back to the example of 7 kids in a 2-bedroom, and they need more bedroom spaces, and they need to move the next 30 days, and they just started the process, and they say, I'm just not quite ready for that yet. I would explain away their concerns, is I would ask something along the lines of, do you mind me asking what makes you feel like you're not ready to do this? And if they say, well, it just seems too soon, I'd say, well, earlier you shared with me that you need to be moved into, and this is where this framework crushes. This is so easily forgotten, is all of the information you got from clarifying their why. You now have ammo to go back and say, well, earlier you shared with me that you need to be moved into, you need more bedrooms for your family and you need to move in the next 30 days. What would be the hesitation? And I'm not using this against them, but I really am. And this is where, when you don't ask sales-based questions, you're going to get so much more information from them, and it's going to really help you objection handle. Frankly, if you get objections at all, because you're not asking sales-based questions, you're going to get fewer objections. Now, when you do get the objections, you're going to actually have the information or the ammo in order to overcome those objections. Now, once you have got them to agree to whatever the next steps are, you are then going to move to R, which is review the next steps that they just agreed to. This is really easy to skip, but it's one of the more important ones on here. You want to give them the opportunity to back out, which is going to re-clarify or reconfirm that this is actually what they want to do. So your goal here is to give them one last chance to back out. So here's an example. Now, just like we talked about earlier, is right when you finish this video, you're going to go over to onyxhomes.com/school. That's going to have you fill out a form, and it's going to send you over to the community itself. Make sure you get it active in there. Ask whatever questions you have in the community. I'll send you a DM once I get in there, and then you'll have full access to all the training. So my advice is to start with Closer Framework because you started here. As you can see, that's what next steps should sound like. And if you're like, whoa, Christian, I don't want to join, I could go back and say, well, earlier you shared with me by watching this whole video that you are interested. So if you are reconfirming or you're reviewing that they said yes to a buyer strategy session, here's what it might sound like is, all right, so right when I get back to my office, I'm going to send you a calendar invite for tomorrow at 5 o'clock with a link to, we use Zoom, we use Google Meets. So you get a link to that. My advice is make sure you're on a desktop or a laptop, something, because I have a presentation. If you're visual like I am, you'll be able to see the visuals. And most of my clients take a lot of notes, so you might want to bring something to write on or whatever you like to take notes on. So I'll send you that right when I get back to the office. Sound good? If they're like, whoa, 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 that is not what I thought I was agreeing to, I'd much rather know right then and there. The last thing you want to do after all of this work in setting your next step in your appointment and getting them to really do what you want them to do is if they call you like, hey, I'm in the car on the way to dinner. Can we get this Spire strategy session wrapped up real quick? And if they think it's a 5-minute phone call and you're thinking it's an hour consultation, you are not on the same page whatsoever. So that's why review is so important. So that is the closer framework. You are clarifying why they're moving in the first place. You are labeling their pain point, overviewing what they've done so far, selling the vacation. You're explaining away any concerns they have, and you're reviewing the crystal clear next steps that they just agreed to. Now, this video is all about sales. Now, if you're gonna go and use this framework in your business right away, I absolutely love it. Make sure to join the Start to Finish community. Go to onyxhomes.com/school. But also, if you like this video and you want to kickstart your business, the next video I made for you is what I would do in the next 90 days to totally transform your business. So if you want to see that video, I got it up right here for you. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, maybe share it with a friend, and then I'll see you in the next video.